The trick about retail banking is it's not really about banking, it's about understanding retail as it is. Good structures, good people, a good clear leadership is one of the areas that, as a bank and going into the retail sector should be able to actually understand going forward. We've seen, as you said, we've seen a lot of banks just focusing on deposits or focusing on consumer loans. The reality is that for retail to be successful in any given strategy, you have to look at a holistic approach. You have to understand what the market wants. You have to understand what the customers want. You have to understand service, which is very cardinal to the success in retail. Then comes innovation and how you want to actually sell and how you want to distribute and what people want going forward.
All right, Olumide, well, talk to me about branches. I mean, I've seen quite a few banks recently talk about cutting branches. We know that the focus in Nigeria recently has been on cost and efficiency in the banking sector. Now, some obviously are cutting branches, and branches seem at some point to be very key to the retail strategy. What's your thought on that? How do we bring in the branch network into that strategy?
On the contrary, I think the branch still plays a very critical role in retail development going forward. But what you've seen over the last 6-7 months is a gradual slowdown in branch expansions and branches and banks moving more to alternative distribution channels, such as the agent mobile or such as technology, because the huge cost in terms of investment and the huge cost in terms of building the big colossal branches that we had in the 90s and 20s is not sustainable. So what you tend to find out is the strategy for those areas is to, well, yes, still have some key branch development, but focus more on the alternative distribution models, which I earlier said, which includes agent distribution, mobile technology, and more efficient service deliveries.
Right. Can you share some thoughts on mobile money? It's something that's clearly new in this market. We've seen it quite successful in places like Kenya. Some people are doubtful about the uptake in Nigeria. But talk to us about your thoughts on how banks can integrate that into their retail strategy. Clearly, we can reach a lot more people if we are reaching them on their phones.
Clearly, this is a very new area. CBN only recently, gave licenses to 14 operators in the country to try and develop the mobile payment system. We've seen a lot of noise in the market with the combination of banks and telcos trying to actually attract that space. But we're still very early in the game, and what we reckon and what we see, or what I personally think, is that we still have a little way to go yet in seeing how this is going to play out. There still need to be a lot of education. There still need to be a lot of technology put in place properly to understand how you can actually get maximum from the market, and the banks are closely watching. And like I said, I think it's an area where it's very early to comment. We just need to watch this space and see how things develop over the next few months.
All right, so the jury is still out on that one.
Very
give
much
us your
out.
thoughts. I mean, I know Diamond Bank is very focused on retail, and so maybe from your experience you can share the issue of credit risk, consumer credit risk. How do you manage that in a market where the whole issue of a credit bureau is something that is still gathering momentum? How do you manage that as a bank focused on retail?
I think the trick and the answer is understanding retail, as I earlier said when we talked. We and Diamond Bank, want to employ a methodology in terms of looking at credit risk and how we profile customers to see which customers really need loans, understand how we lend to customers, understand what those needs are. And I think that's what has been our clear advantage in terms of giving loans, as you quite say, to the consumer space. It's not an end game. I mean, we're still constantly developing this area of the market, and we're still understanding, the needs of our customers going forward. It's a big area that we want to play in, but we're careful. We need to make sure we have the systems in place and the processes in place to understand and make sure we don't go into, the things and we had even in the retail space in the previous months.
All right, Olumide, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Olumide Akindele is in the retail banking department at Diamond Bank.